First time in over a month we have all been together on the couch.
Welcome back, guys. And congratulations, you got the big Saturday show.
Great. Thank you very much. It's going to be fun. The work starts today.
So how was your Christmas?
I know. Well, I forgot
about you guys since before. What?
Oh, thank you.
I am giving you your Christmas present.
All right, thank you.
Please tell me, he always gets us
go ahead, you can take a look.
Christmas ornament.
We got 3 shows.
And he uses a picture, a personal photo. Yes! I have these on my Christmas tree. And you know what? It really brings tears to my eyes when I look back over the years at how Hayden's grown.
Let's see how you like this one.
Okay.
Brian, is yours the kids or the dogs? Let's see.
Oftentimes I do.
You really were worried about this breaking.
You need a hand, Brian?
No, it's okay.
That bubble wrap, it's a killer.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Wow, wow, look at this.
Oh, the whole family.
Most of these people are in my family.
That is so cute.
For tax purposes
This
only.
is fantastic. A flexible flyer.
You know what? I get those every year. When I go in wearing my mask to Walgreens, now I'm able to make the little sled ornaments.
I love these. They are so cute.
This is great.
This is my 6th one now.
Although it didn't make it to this year's tree, it'll make it to next year's tree.
You know what?
Thank you,
we still
Steve.
have our tree up.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh, that's
really?
good.
It's coming down
It
today.
must be a faux
Well,
tree.
because for the last month we've been working remotely,
right.
you know, closer to home, and so one thing leads to another.
Is it dead, or
No,
is it?
It's the fake tree.
It's the fake tree.
It looks great.
Okay, that's good.
Anyway. Never dies, but now you got to store it. All right, so let me tell you what else.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone, but this is an ongoing story that's actually happening in December, and here we are at the end of February, end of January, and it's still with us. We begin with a Fox News alert. NATO allies now, get this, are sending additional ships and fighter jets into Eastern Europe as Russian forces build up at the Ukrainian border. Steve Harrigan joins us live on the ground in Kiev with the latest. So, Steve, this is exactly what Vladimir Putin didn't want, a military presence in the NATO nations, an additional one. Now he's getting it.
You're right, Brian. This is exactly what Putin was against. He did not want troops on his border, and now those troops are pouring in. Here in Ukraine, the U.S. Embassy is telling Americans it is time to leave, saying there will be no time for an air evacuation of U.S. citizens here in Ukraine once there could be a Russian invasion into Ukraine. They are ordering family members of embassy personnel to leave. Ukrainian government officials are pushing back, saying such a move is clearly premature at this point. President Biden is considering a number of options, including sending 3,000 to 5,000 U.S. military personnel to Eastern Europe, and it comes, as you mentioned, when NATO is already sending warships and aircraft to the region. The Secretary of State has been asked repeatedly, will there be U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine?
Do you see any scenario in which more U.S. service members become involved here?
One of the things that we've been very clear about is the ongoing continued buildup of defense capacity in Ukraine.
No real clear answer there from the Secretary of State, but keep in mind earlier in December, President Biden pretty much ruled out that U.S. forces would be on the ground in Ukraine.
That is not on the table. The idea the United States is going to unilaterally use force to confront Russia invading Ukraine is not in the cards right now, but what will happen is there will be severe consequences.
But U.S. ammunition and weapons continue to arrive here in Ukraine, a second shipment this weekend of more than 80 tons. Brian, Ainsley, Steve, back to you.
All right. Hey, Steve, I got a quick question for you. You're on the ground there in Kiev. Do the people of Ukraine, do they regard the United States as who's going to save the day?
I think there's real mixed emotions here. Keep in mind, a lot of people here in Ukraine are part Ukrainian, part Russian. I think it's hard for a lot of people to imagine a war with a close neighbor and with a relative.
It's hard to pick a side.
It is.
Right. But, Steve, would you also say it's true that over the last, since 2014, when over 13,000 Ukrainians have been killed, since that time the Ukrainians have hardened their sense of nationalism for their country and against Russia, further dividing the two? Maybe the Ukrainian feeling of nationalism is greater than ever before.
And keep in mind, too, Brian, remember how Russia fights wars. If you've been to a place where Russia has fought it's almost like nothing else. It is destruction. It is brutal. So if war comes here, brother against brother, it could be awful.
Right, you lived there for a while. You understand the culture.
Yeah, Steve, what are the folks on the ground saying? Are they? I'm sure they're nervous about this. Are many of them fleeing and getting out?
I think some people who have the means to go will go now, but a lot of people don't have those means. I think there's some skepticism, some hope, really, that to the last minute, it's hard for people to get their heads around a massive invasion, 100,000 troops on their border. They think, a lot of people I've talked to say, Putin is just trying to scare us to make sure NATO never comes to Ukraine.
Interesting. It's cost a lot of money and huge troop deployments to do it, along with exercises, military exercises. And is it true that Belarus is now has the Russian troops on their border, so on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border, so they're almost virtually surrounding the country outside the water's edge?
You're right, and when you're trying to plan on where to go if there's an invasion, it's hard to guess because Russian troops are in the north, they're in the east, and they're in the south. Where are they going to come from, or all three directions at once?
No kidding. All right, Steve Harrigan, live in Kiev, Ukraine. Steve, thank you very much.
Many critics are saying that Joe Biden gave the green light last week at the press conference.
We heard it.
Yeah, and they're saying that other countries think they can seize the moment, that Americans are weak and they're disorganized. And then I've heard Afghanistan, people have said that had a ripple effect with Ukraine and will carry into China possibly, or Iran or North Korea.
You know, a couple of things. Evidently, the Washington Post has a story today that we're trying this weapon that's kind of unique, the same thing we did to Huawei. And we're looking to use foreign direct product rules to deny them semiconductors, tiny components for all their modern technology that would prevent them from building fighter jets, things for their smartphones, semiconductors. So this would really hurt their high-tech industry almost immediately. We're considering doing that.
Well, because, and what it is, it's the lead story in the Washington Post. With these export controls, keep in mind, pretty much every semiconductor in the world is either made with American tools or have U.S. software. And so, ultimately, the United States is now pressuring our European allies. Hey, we all need to be together with this to stop the flow of components to the industries that Putin has high ambitions for, like civil aviation, maritime, and high tech. So while last week we were talking about, you know, he should have just pulled the plug on the Nord Stream 2. Well, now, not only could they do that, although it's a little late, the horse has left the barn on that, but now what the administration is secretly doing is they're saying, hey, Vladimir Putin, yeah, good luck. Go ahead and invade. We are going to bring you to your knees financially.
Yeah, they all met this weekend. There was a briefing at Camp David, and he met with advisors, Joe Biden did, and they're considering sending in those troops. They're considering sending in naval vessels. But when asked about sanctions, Blinken said to deter the Russian aggression, he said that would mean losing the means of deterrence if we sanction them. But Congressman Michael McCall said we can always remove these sanctions,
of course,
if they deter Putin. But if we don't do them, then we're going to look weak, and Russia's going to continue to do this. John Ratcliffe.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is what John Ratcliffe said on why Biden is weak.
Vladimir Putin is not just winning, but he's won on this issue. You know, here's the president of the 12th country with only the 12th largest economy in the world, and he has the leader of the free world, the President of the United States, and our Western allies sitting back waiting to see what he's going to do instead of leading on the issue and telling him what he must do. Everywhere we go around the world in the past year, our adversaries have gotten stronger. I know at the press conference, Joe Biden said he had a good year, that he had the best year of any first-year president. But you know who had a good year? Terrorists and the Taliban. Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un. You can't point to anywhere on the globe where the United States national security and posture has improved over the past year.
And I don't think anybody would defy, who weren't playing pure politics, anything John Ratcliffe just said. But on what you were saying before about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, the Germans are the problem. I mean, the Germans are the problem.
We can't get them on board.
Yeah, when asked about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, by the way, the Secretary of Navy, their person who runs that, said over the weekend that Vladimir Putin deserves respect. He ends up being first to resign.
See?
He said
they're not on our team.
Asked about potential sanction on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, to your point, from Russia to Germany. He says, well, he goes, you can't sanction something that's not operative yet. That's not the point. And number two is on getting off the SWIFT global system, which would further devastate the Russian economy in a way we've never seen before. The German foreign minister said the hardest stick might not always be the best. You're not helping.
Right, exactly. And so, last week it looked like the invasion was imminent, but the problem for everybody is once there's an invasion, there's a whole bunch of Russian guys in Ukraine. Then what do you do?
Exactly.
And that is how the administration has gotten us to this crazy point where they could have done more early.
Why all these excuses about sanctions, though? Why not just slap them with sanctions to prevent them from going in? It's going to be too late.
It is indeed. We'll see what happens today. Stay tuned to Fox. We'll have the very latest. In the meantime, 6:12 here in the East Coast. Still ahead, Senator Bernie Sanders is sending a midterm warning to the left as Democrats' agenda stalled.
Republicans are laughing all the way to Election Day. They have not had to cast one bloody vote, which shows us where they're at, and we've got to change that.
Okay, but as the White House touts their tremendous progress
in the Super Bowl next Sunday, exciting stuff in the NFL. Those are your headlines, guys.
I don't think I'll ever see a better weekend of football.
Great game.
I could not. Yesterday, what happened yesterday was unbelievable.
Do you think Tom Brady's going to retire?
No.
Negotiation.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, well, I think on his website he indicated you must. He said had a phrase where you must learn from defeat or something like that. So I think it's. I mean, he says I'm going to talk to my family. What do you think his family's going to say?
Get out of the house, Dad.
Right.
Come on. That's what you're really good
Right.
at.
Have some tomatoes and quit.
So it's Chiefs.
Let's be inflamed like the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's Chiefs and Bengals because he doesn't eat tomatoes or mushrooms. He doesn't eat mushrooms. It's Chiefs and Bengals versus the Rams and 49ers this weekend.
Out on the West Coast. So the Rams, unshockingly, are playing home and a short trip for the San Francisco 49ers. And then the Rams have a chance to do what Tampa did last year, play the Super Bowl in their home stadium.
Okay, I know who you're pulling for. You want the Chiefs to win. How about you?
Of course.
I just want to see everyone healthy and happy. Ever since the Giants got eliminated in Week 1, I just got to become
Brian, that's every year.
I got a football.
That's every year.
Unfortunately, Steve, you're right. I wish I could push back.
Well, at least you didn't say the Jets to put a dagger in Joel's heart. All right, let's talk. Let's move from sports to the sport of politics. The Democrats and Joe Biden have had a terrible run over the last couple of weeks because in the U.S. Senate they were denied Build Back Better, obviously, from before Christmas, then the filibuster, the voting rules thing. All of the Republicans have teamed up, essentially, with Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. And Bernie Sanders says between the two of them, they're giving the Republicans a lot to laugh about. Watch this.
What has bothered me very much is the Republicans are laughing all the way to Election Day. They have not had to cast one bloody vote which shows us where they're at, and we've got to change that.
He also says it's widespread understanding that what we have done for the last 6 months has failed from a policy point of view. And did you see in Arizona, the Democratic Party, they formally censured Kristen Sinema. Furious with her because she didn't blow up the filibuster. She says she supports the voting rights legislation but doesn't want the filibuster blown up.
Right. And she says, you elected me in Congress 3 times, and I said I was independent. Then you elected me U.S. Senator, and I said I was independent. And because I'm going to be independent, now you're going to censure me? It's kind of scary, but for these parties to do that type of retribution, but they are entitled to do it, and Bernie Sanders said it was a good move. Just a quick thing on the Fox poll. There are 36% of the country want Joe Biden reelected, but in the Fox poll, 47% approve of his job performance, which I found stunning, especially because 42% of 538, 43% of the NBC poll, 33% of the Quinnipiac poll, but the Fox poll has him extremely high. But he has the one thing that he is not doing that for some reason on every poll is number one.